Hello everyone, it's the 8th of November and I'm Esther with you today for this midweek reflection. Last week Isabel spoke about her recent holiday and the ups and downs, especially of coming home. Well, Bob and I were also holidaying at the same time and had a similar experience of getting home because of Storm Babette. However, we did arrive home from London after 2 days because of cancelled trains, and it was a big relief when we eventually arrived home, tired but none the worse from our trachels. What a lovely Scots word. But today I want to talk about special days. We all know and are very familiar with special days. Well, our birthdays are special. Mother's Day and Father's Day are special. And on Sunday, the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day was celebrated with fireworks and bonfires. And all over the world, people will celebrate St Andrew's Day on the 30th of November. So, I wondered if there were any special days for the 8th of November. And here's what I came up with. And there are quite a few which I have never heard of. Well, Roast Dinner Day, National Dunce Day, Eat Healthy Day, National Cappuccino Day, Benjamin Banneker Week, World Radiography Day, and STEM or STEAM Day, which is Science, Technology, Engineering, Art and Mathematics, Cook Something Bold and Pungent Day, National Harvey Wallbanger Day, National Shot Day, to name but a few. So let's have a look at some of them. Well, I'm cheating a wee bit because the Benjamin Banneker Week actually begins on the 9th of November, but I'll talk a wee bit about him later. So the first one I'm going to speak about is the Sunday Roast Day. Now, I know there are some wonderful cooks out there, and I'm not going to try and tell you what a Sunday roast dinner consists of, but I am going to tell you a little bit about the origins of the Sunday roast. The Sunday roast came to prominence during the reign of Henry VII in 1485. The British used to consume a considerable amount of meat. The yeomen of the guard, the royal bodyguards, have affectionately been known as beef eaters since the 15th century because of their love of eating roast beef. In 1871, William Kitchener, author of The Cook's Oracle, obviously meant for the well-off, recommended eating 6 pounds of meat each week as part of a healthy diet. He also recommended 4.5 pounds of bread and a pint of beer every day. But today in the UK, a meat eater's diet can include approximately 3 pounds of meat each week, and only about 7 ounces of that might be beef. And I'm sure a lot of people don't even eat that much beef. So Kitchener also describes in the book how to roast the noble sirloin of about 15 pounds before the fire for 4 hours. This method of hanging the meat on a spit demanded a sizable fireplace to feed a large household. The meat was served not only on Sundays, but as cold cuts, stews and pies throughout the week. Well, the less well-off didn't have the luxury of a large fireplace or the money for much meat, and for many, a smaller weekly roast would be dropped off at the baker's en route to church and cooked in the cooling bread ovens, because bread wasn't baked on a Sunday. With access for all to cook meat, the tradition of the British Sunday lunch began and still continues today. The ubiquitous partner to the roast was, and still is, a Yorkshire pudding. The pudding was not served alongside the meat, as is often seen today. Instead, it was a starter dish served with lots of gravy, and by eating it first, the hope was that everyone would be too full and eat less meat on the main course. because, of course, it was very expensive. Now, the roast beef of Old England, an English patriotic ballad, was written by Henry Fielding for his play, The Grub Street Opera, first performed in 1731. When mighty roast beef was the Englishman food, it ennobled our brains and enriched our blood. Our soldiers were brave and our courtiers were good. Oh, the roast beef of Old England, the old English roast beef. Imagine a meal that is so delicious and traditional it inspires a song. So let's move on to National Dunce Day. Now, the meaning of dunce is considered to be a stupid or slow-witted person, as its history and association with the dunce cap has been negatively portrayed. However, when it was created, this cap was considered to be a symbol that was used by respected scholars. So, hailing from Duns, Scotland, John Duns Scotus seemed to have been the creator of the dunce cap. He was a scholar and a Franciscan priest. The idea of the tall, pointy hat, in the mind of its creator, was that it would inspire the flow of wisdom. In fact, this may have been the inspiration for the association of the pointy hats with wizards. The term dunce was likely derived from the fact that the followers of this scholar were called Duns men, which naturally turned into dunce. Duns made a huge impact on modern thought and was a vital voice throughout Europe in the Middle Ages. However, as John Duns Scotus' philosophical and religious theories were popular during his life in the 1200s and early 1300s, they moved out of favour in the 1500s in favour of more humanistic views. And the pointy hat became a sign filled with negative connotations and shame. Some teachers would even use it to embarrass children who did not perform well or were not acting properly in school. Of course, this would never happen today. So the observance of National Dunce Day on November the 8th coincides with the death of the medieval scholar after whom it was named, John Duns Scotus. So let's move on to the third national day that I'm going to talk about. In 1895 was an incredible discovery made, one that would utterly change the way we looked at the human body, both literally and figuratively. On the back of this discovery, 1 million new technologies would be developed in the areas of medicine, security, and much more. And the man who discovered all this? Well, his name was Wilhelm Röntgen, and as a result, he may just be one of the most important men in medical history. World Radiography Day celebrates on the 8th of November his discovery and everything that's come from it. Now, I am in no way a scientific person, and so what I'm reading to you now goes a little over my head, but here goes. The X-ray was discovered by accident as part of an experiment where Wilhelm was attempting to ascertain whether or not cathode rays could pass through glass. Nearby there was a chemically coated screen, and from it was emanating an odd glow, and dubbed the rays causing that glow X-rays. Well, why X-rays? Because he didn't know what they were, and the ubiquitous X for unknown was utilised, and they've been called X-rays ever since. So what are X-rays really? They're energy waves of electromagnetism that act in much the same way light rays do, but with an incredibly short wavelength, 1,000 times shorter than those of light, to be precise. And once he discovered them, he began experimenting extensively with them, determining what they could and couldn't pass through and how they could be photographed. It was through this that he discovered that lead absorbed it almost completely, and human bone would stop it, creating a new and innovative way to see what was going on inside the human body. And X-rays were used extensively during the Balkan War to locate shrapnel, bullets and broken bones in soldiers in the field. And X-rays were used extensively in things like shoe fittings until it became apparent that it wasn't all fun and games. Now they're used for things like security at airports, natural material analysis and more, but with much more attention to safety. In fact, his first X-ray was of his wife Anna's left hand, complete with her rings. In 1901, Röntgen won the Nobel Prize for Physics. And within a year of the discovery of X-rays, the first radiology department opened in Glasgow Royal Infirmary. And Bob and I have recently visited Berlin, and there is seemingly a statue of Röntgen at the Potsdam Bridge, which we didn't see, and at that point I hadn't really been thinking about him. But he died in Munich in 1923, aged 77, from bowel cancer. In a Science Museum poll in 2009, the X-ray was voted by the British public as the most important modern discovery. So, what have these people all got in common? Well, the Bible says we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is in prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. And if it is to lead, do it diligently. And if it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. But you don't have to be something special for God to want you. So, have a peaceful week and try to make every day special.